Hello, everyone. Let's get started. Please download Laboratory 14 from Blackboard. Today, we are going to learn how to use Pandas package, right? Because in the last two labs, we learned how to use NumPy to deal with arrays, right? And today, we need to learn one more tool. It is a very useful tool. It's called Pandas for we call it NumPy for bread. Here, Pandas for butter, right? So you can run. So first, please run this script to identify your host name, username, and current information. And the next one, please input your name, our number, and the date. Okay. And Pandas is very, very important. So if you want to be a data scientist, you need to be very, very familiar with the Pandas library. So a data table is called a data frame in Pandas. As you see, it is a diagram about data frames, about the row and column. So each column and each row in the data frame is called a series. The header row and index column are very special. So I will show you how to get the header row or index column in the following labs today. To use Pandas, we need to import the module. Generally, Pandas and NumPy as a dependency, so it is also must be imported. So I remember last time one student asked me a question. So do we need to import the NumPy every time? I said no. You just need to import the NumPy at the first beginning of your lab or your assignment, right? So as you see here, it is our first code cell, right? We import the NumPy as NP, NumPy Pandas as PB, right? And after that, you don't need to import it at all, only once, okay? And so suppose you let's see the first example. Suppose you don't know about the Pandas. Let's see how to use our basic codes to construct a data frame. So here you see, let's construct a data frame. Construct the three lists, one for the row names, one for the column names, and one for the content. So as you see here, in a data frame, we need to have a header row and the index column and the content. All right. So for instance, here is like a basic code, not the Pandas library, not the functions in Pandas library. Okay. As you see here, we use NumPy, and there's a random sub package in the NumPy, right? And get the random integer from 1 to 100 and get an array. This array is 5 rows and 4 columns. Okay, so the first one is about the content for the data frame. They are all randomly selected numbers from 1 to 100, and there are 20 numbers, 5 rows and 4 columns. And last one is about the row names. It's about the header row, right? Header row is from A to E, and the column names from W to Z, right? And after that, you construct the my table. It means for J column in this my column name, and then it is a variable, right? You set only the like empty or blank content here, as you see here. And after that, you can use this. You can use two for loops to iterate the my table. Okay. And you can show this one. You can show my table and my tabular here. This is is defined from here, right? It is randomly selected. So perhaps on your own computer, on your own cell, it would be different because it is randomly selected. So it's normal if you have a different table. Okay. So here you see from 1 to 100 and 5 rows, 4 columns, and next one about table, right? So here we set all the tables. You see we iterate all the columns and all the rows, and all the content would be this. Only like the quotes empty, right? And after that we want to here is to build a placeholder named my table. Next one will populate the table, use different loops to write the column names in the first row and the row names at the first column, right? And table fill for the rest of the table. So for instance, here is from I, it's not the one, it's not 0, right? Because from this diagram, this is empty. So we will get started from the second element. So that's why here is 1, not 0. And then we write all the row names. We set the row name and 0, and then row names and similarity. So we can use column names from the second element and write the column names. And after that, from other things, we use that again to use two different loops to write them again. Right. And after that, print out. Okay. So as you see, the first one would be empty, right? Because all the things we start from the second element. So the first one is about the column name, right? So the column name would be 0, 0, and then all the indexes, right? And for the row names would be the first column, right? The first column here is how to use, because we iterate from 0, not 0, from 1 to the end of this table and get the first element. It means the first column, not the first row, right? The second one is the first row. You use the first row to write the column names, first column to write the row names. And for all other things, you fill the content, right? It is how to use basic Python codes to build a data frame. All right. So it is very, very complicated, right? That's why we need to design the pandas library. Okay, so based on this data frame, we can perform some queries. We can query by row. You can see 3 means the fourth row, right? And then you see here we can get all the fourth row. Yeah, so it means here 0, right? Or for the column, but the column you need to use another loop. Cannot use implied loop in a column slice. So you need to use a for loop to get the row, to get the column, right? X from X to 63, right? Or by the row and column index, sort of a spreadsheet syntax, right? Print out this one, and then the result is about the 3 Y column and 0, it will be 69, right? So it is how to use the basic codes to create that. So any questions so far? Okay, next example, we will show how to use the pandas library. Use the pandas library to create a proper data frame and use an easier way. So we'll do now to do the same things. We use pandas. So you can use pandas.frame. PD means pandas, right? Dot data frame. And then you can get that. And here there are three arguments. The first one would be the content of the data frame. And the second one would be the row names, and last one would be the column names. And after that, print out the data frame. See, it is a proper way and it's easier, right? You don't need to write any loops. You don't need to create the placeholder. You don't need to use the 3 different loops to insert row names, column names, and arguments and contents. You only need one function, but 3 arguments, right? One function, 3 arguments. First one will be the content, row names, and column names. Okay. So for instance, here is just a table. It's a 5 rows and 4 column table. They are all randomly selected numbers and row name from A to E, right? Row names A to E, and W, X, Y, Z, it means the column names, right? It is the first way is the easier way, but you can also use different ways to create a proper data frame with pandas library. You can use data frame and then my table. My table is this way, right? My table is this is my table, right? This is my table you just created. So let's see it is correct or not. As you see here, the constructor adds the header row and the index column in the my table. So if we only pass the content, so we pass my table as the first argument, right? So we didn't pass the header row or the row names and column names. So it would be numbers in defaultly. Okay. So that's why here you see there are some weird 0 to 4, 0 to 5, and then the header row would be the first row. So it's not a proper data frame, but you can use this way. Okay. So a better way is to get a proper behavior. We can reuse the original objects. We can use this one. We can use the tabular row names, column names as the arguments, right? So I see it would be a correct and a better one, right? So you use this one as the first element, first argument, row names and column names. So please make sure if you want to have a proper data frame, you need to have 3 arguments. The first argument would be the content. The second one would be the header row, and the third one would be the column names. Okay. It is about how to create a proper data frame. Any questions so far? Okay, next one is about how to get the shape of the data frame. We can also call it as a rank. So it means we want to know how many it is a DF, right? So 5 and 4, it means 5 rows and 4 columns, right? Because it will ignore the header row and the column names. So it will ignore W, X, Y, Z, and A to E. It will only consider the content of the data frame. So it is 5 and 4 means 5 rows and 4 columns. Data 1 shape is 5 and 6 and 5 because now we consider this as the content. So that's why it's not a proper data frame. And that's why it's the same as the first one, right? It's correct. So next one, we want to know, like do some basic operations on the data frame. So the first thing is how to append new columns. It's very easy. So because here to append the columns, they simply assign this value to a new columns. New means the new column names, and then set all the values, okay? Yeah, so you see new as a column, and actually this is a simpler way to assign some values to a new column. But if you want to append the new rows, it's a little bit trickier a better way, we need to create a copy of the row and get it, make it append as to the end of this data frame. Okay, so as you see, you can use this locate at LOC locate E, because E is the last row, right? Last row, and rename it as index. Okay, so and after that you get a new, you put this new row at the end of this data frame. Okay, so first one, create a single row and rename the index, and then after that put it as the end of your original data frame. And this is a simple way, because it's really hard to do that, because there's no functions like here. When you need to append the new columns, you don't need to use any functions. You can just use this way to do that. But for rows, it's complicated, right? So you can use this way, right? Show that it's a new table. We just make a copy, but yeah, for the last one, we revise something. We add one more row. Okay. And the next one is about removing rows and columns. So removing a column is straightforward. We can use a drop method. Drop new access is 1 means a column, and in place is true. So then it is a better way to. And to remove a row, you need to create a new data frame. So when you want to add one row or remove a row, it would be better if you create a new copy, right? Here is the new copy. You can you can use LC to select all the rows except 3 rows, and it looks like you dropped the 0, right? Because if you want to do that straightforward, it would be very hard. Okay. It's about how to remove rows and columns. Any questions so far? Okay, next one, how to index. Index is about how to index columns. Is very easy. So how to select a single column, you can just use this square brackets and the column names. Okay, X, right? So you see here is X from 49 to 67, right? And you can also use double square brackets and get two columns, X and W, right? 2 columns. But if you want to select the rows, you need to use the function. Use not function, actually it's a property, right? So it attributes LOC and then square brackets, select the rows. Then there's only 4 columns, right? You can select multiple rows, right? EXB, right? And you can also select the elements via both rows and the columns via locate indexer. Okay, so as you see here, we only want EXB, but there are 4 columns. We only need the middle 2 columns, so we can use this way. But please make sure they are all square brackets, not round brackets. Okay. Yeah, so it is about how to index the data frame. And next one is about how to do the conditional selection. So for instance, we use a different way to create a data frame. So in this way, we use the dictionary. If you remember, in the data structure lab, we learned how to use the lists, tuples, and dictionaries, right? But here, we learned how to use the table row names and column names to create a proper data frame. But here is another way. We can use the dictionary, right? Dictionary to get it is as a column name, and it is a content of the data frame. But in this way, we don't have the row names. Let's see. As you see here, column 1 would be the first column, second column 3, and then all the contents, but we didn't pass any row names. So If we come back to there, we only pass the first argument, the content, and the third argument will be the column names. We didn't pass the row names. That's why here is there are numbers defaultly from 0 to 7, right? Yeah, and it is the conditional selection is very convenient. So that's why we used it in pandas library. For instance, if we want to check here is the what fruit corresponding to the number 555 in column 2. So first we can use this expression df column 2 is equal to 555, and then it will come back. It will give you a row number, and then you pass this row number and the column number to get the fruit. Okay, so as you see here, it is 1. It means first it will get out. It will give you calculate this expression or evaluate this expression and give you, it is 1, index 1. So index 1, df index 1, and the column 3, it is apple. That's why here it show you 1 and apple. Okay, so you don't need to write your own functions to solve this question. So you can use the conditional selection from the pandas library. Okay, and next one correspond to the minimum number from this one. So it will show you which one is the minimum number. So dot min around brackets is used to show the minimum number, and then it will show you 5. Index 5. It will be 111, right? And watermelon. Yeah. So it was the conditional selection. It's very convenient and easily to use, and I'm pretty sure you need to remember, you need to memorize this function because it's very useful. It can be used in your final projects, I think. Yeah, so please make sure you understand how to do this conditional selection. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, here's the descriptor functions. So how to create a data frame from a dictionary. So you give you another show and how to use the column names and content. And next one, we show how to return the first few rows, because in our toy program, there are only maybe perhaps only 5 rows, 10 rows, 40 rows. But if you you need to do some real world application, there are some millions or billions of rows. So you need to check some samples of them, right? So that's why you need to use the head method. Okay, so head method to show the first 5 rows. If you use this, it will return you first 5 rows to give you a sample, right? And you can also show the tails. You can use the tails. Sorry. Yeah, dot tail. Show you the last 5 rows. Okay, but it doesn't matter. So you only need to know that. If you don't pass any arguments here, it will show you the first 5 rows. But if you if you stat something, it will show you the number of the rows, right? So 6 means the first 6 rows. Yeah, see, first 6 rows and the first 3 rows, and also, yeah, it's first 3 rows. It's a convenient way, right? And next one, info, it will show you the data label or data model, data column count, names, and data types. It's very useful. It will give you a summary, what data type are there, and the columns, how many columns there, and the names and data types. And next one is a describe method. It's a return summary statistics of each numeric columns. It's very useful. Minimum and IQR, and understand the structure. So you don't need to do that by yourself. You don't need to to find some minimum, the maximum, or the mean value. You can get it from here. See here, content means only 8 rows, and the mean number and the standard deviation, minimum, maximum, AQR here, right? Describe is very, very useful. So please make sure you know this describe function and head function, okay? And next one is about how to do the counting and the sum the method. You can do the sum of a specific column, right? So column 2, it means you can sum all them together to use this way, okay? All the functions has already been defined by pandas library. You just need to use that. And the unique method, it returns a list of unique values because there are some duplicates, right? And next one is number of the unique. So you use n unique. It means it will return you the total number of the unique values along the indexed columns. And the value counts returns the count of each unique values, right? So how many times it has 2 occurrence. So it's very, very important. Unique number, unique value counts. So all the functions for now, perhaps you don't know how to use it, but they are all very useful. When you need to analyze some data, you need to use that. You need to use these functions, okay? And the last one would be how it's very convenient way, so you can define your own functions and apply them in the data frames. Power of the pandas is ability to apply the functions to each element of the data frame series. As you see here, you can apply it's a simple function. You can multiply object x by 2, right? You pass x argument and return x by 2 as a result, right? You can apply this times 2, then it will apply this function to each column element of the column 2, and the result would be you multiply each element by 2 of column 2, okay? Can use this way. It's original one, right? And then after that, you do apply this times 2, then it is our result, right? So the first one would be 888, last one would be 444. So it means it's very, very convenient, right? Okay, so the last example is about how to sort them. You can sort, you can use the sort function to sort them by default, okay? So you can sort them by the elements of column 2. See, ascending, you can set it ascending is true. You can ignore that. If you don't pass them, it will be in ascending order by default, right? Column 2, 111, 6666, and last one would be descending, right? So ascending is false, it means descending at the first one, and yeah, so you see the number would be different. The different columns have been reordered. Yeah, so it's about how to sort the data frame. So any questions so far? All right, so it's a diagram about the pandas library, pandas functions. I suggest you to download it and learn how to use that. There are like a detailed examples about them. Yeah, so here's some documents, and there's no exercises. So please make sure because today's, I think the content is very, very heavy. So you need to run all the cells and learn the functions. Please make sure you understand all the functions, okay? So they are very, very important. They are widely used in the following labs, okay? Yeah, so and next on Wednesday, we will learn the part 2 of the pandas, okay? Yeah, so that's all I want to share today. If you don't have any other questions, please feel free to leave the meeting. Thank you, guys, and see you on Wednesday. Thank you. Have a good one.
I have a question.
Oh,
Go ahead.
you go first.
Okay. Okay. So I have a question on the, I guess, the use functions and symbolic apply. I guess the third to last line, I guess. It's near the bottom.
Okay.
I think it's up from there.
Mhm.
Yes, right here. So we declare the function as x times 2,
Mhm.
but then I tried just like removing the times 2 whenever we call the function and just replacing it with x times 2, and it would say like x is not defined. So why is that? Like I try to replace
Try to replace where? It's usually replace this function.
whenever we try to call the function within the code. I try to just replace it with x times 2. How come that doesn't just work?
Okay. I think it should work. So do you mind to share your screen?
Oh,
Sharing.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's see.
I think it should work.
Let me make sure I share the right one. So you see it?
Yeah. Times 2. Yeah.
So I replace this with x times 2. And I run it. And it says x is not defined.
Yeah, because x times 2 is not a function. So here, when you use this apply function of data frame, you need to use a function name to pass x. Here, the argument should be a function name. So x.
Oh, okay. So
X,
that's what.
yeah, x multiplied 2 is not a function name. So you need to.
So how would I do this? So I just remove the whole thing.
So if you want to do that, you need to, as you see here, you need to define another function. So as times 2 function, right? A times 2 function defined here, and then pass the function name to it.
I see. So it doesn't. I have to use a function for this.
Right. You cannot pass. I think x multiplied 2 is the expression, right? It's
yes.
Not a function name,
Yeah,
right? So yeah, so you can only pass the function name to make the work, right?
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
So basically I just got a new computer, so I was just wondering if that would affect anything. I don't know, just because like, it's a new what do you call that, computer ID.
Okay, I think it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Doesn't matter. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was it.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Sure.